I love the film. I saw it on Sunday. How's the festival circuit been treating you?
Well, it's all been virtual. I mean, with Toronto, they did have a physical screening, but filmmakers weren't present. And then with London Film Festival, our film is a virtual screening. So from where I've been sitting, I've been at home. I haven't left home. And so it all feels kind of strange and otherly. But equally, I'm incredibly grateful that it's out there, because my biggest fear would be that it would go into the deep freezer. So I'm really grateful that the story is out there and it's communicating something at the time where we need to talk about these things.
Yeah, I found it incredibly powerful. Can you tell me a bit about where the inspiration for it came from?
Absolutely. I guess, unlike, I suppose, many films where you often, you have your script and then you go and cast it, I cast before I had an even idea. And I had worked with Norah Jane and Nika separately. And it really was their remarkable ability and range to be both fierce and incredibly vulnerable. And that really excited me. And I put them together and I sat back and watched them talk. And I was like, I have a yin and a yang. And I just know I had something. So, we settled on telling a story about an intense sibling bond. We began looking at stories, real stories about sisters. And we came across the Erickson twin sister story, which is about two sisters who had a shared psychosis. And that really became a launch pad for us to try and understand what a shared psychosis was, and also what would lead two sisters to, this extreme event. And it really began a journey of researching and also building fact and fiction together. We brought the world back to Borderland, Northern Ireland, where I'm from. And that became a really important reference point about the past informing the present, and how, where you're from really shapes your sense of identity.
Yeah. I know that video of the Erickson sisters. The second I saw that scene on the motorway,
that without giving too much of that scene away in the film, that moment when I seen it, oh my God, it must be about 15 years ago when I seen it. It was incredibly existential. I watched it and I was like, how could you do that? And how could your sister do that with you? And it really troubled me. It troubled me in a way that especially when, the sisters, for them, it was not an act of suicide. It was an act of survival. And it put a spin on everything. And I realized that I needed to kind of get onto that, and how psychosis can change your state of mind, and how a bond could, bring you to, a brink of something incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, it's crazy. An amazing piece of inspiration to pull. I really enjoyed the sort of slow reveal of how the troubles had affected the family and the whole community. Particularly the scene in the bar between Lauren and Jerry was powerful. What did you learn making this, or want to show people about that sort of lasting trauma?
Well, as I began research, and I was looking at trauma, on my own doorstep, and being, just growing up just as the troubles were ending, I realized I came across a term called transgenerational trauma. And that was the idea of a trauma that can't be expressed or understood, so it's passed on to the next generation. And I realized that where I'm from, Northern Ireland, is like, it's pathologically secretive, because the truth has always been dangerous. Careful, like if you tell someone your surname, careful if you tell them what school you went to, because then they'll know what side you're on, and that's dangerous. And so what really kind of startled me and fascinated me was how the micro of the everyday became intense and scary. And I realized that, having characters from that place and that sense of being judged and questioned, how that can really build a sense of paranoia, and how you want to just break free from all that and just speak the truth. Because ultimately, if we don't speak the truth, the past is going to rear its ugly head, and it's going to be so much more toxic and troubling than actually facing it first on when you just have it. You can bury all you want, like Lauren does in the story. She doesn't want to deal with stuff. She buries it and buries it and buries it. But ultimately, it's going to come out of her. And Kelly returning is a catalyst for all that, just to pour out of her. And, I hope the film, in a way, kind of, these sisters are seen not diagnosis of an illness, but incredibly rich, complex individuals with a past and a present, and that there is something cathartic in meeting your past and working through it.
Yeah, I absolutely saw a theme as well of sort of open secrets everywhere. Everyone knows everything but doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
I actually lived in Omagh in the 90s.
Oh my God.
I remember my mum telling me, I was too young to really understand it, but my mum telling me, don't tell the other kids at school what your dad does for a living. And looking back now, it's like, Mum, I'm a kid with an English accent. It's pretty obvious what he does.
Wow.
But,
so were you there after the Omagh bomb or before?
No, before. I was there in 97.
Oh my God, just a year before.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a weird time to look back on.
Yeah. My God.
I can't imagine how strange it's been going through this whole process without Nika here.
Yeah. It's
what was the process like creating that sisterhood between your two actors? It felt so organic and raw. I
feel like I've lived several lifetimes with those girls, because, when you're workshopping, you're working so incredibly close. And, we even did a residential where we went to Ireland for a week and we, tried out some of the ideas. Like, for example, when Lauren walks in and sees Kelly for the first time, and, you go to really raw, visceral places and, as a director, you sit back and you're just in awe of your actors. And I really did feel like I lived several lifetimes with them. And, we all just felt like we were on the cusp of something incredibly special, when we knew when, I never forget, like when I finished the last scene with Nika and she came up to me and she goes, if I never make another film in my life, I'll die happy. And I was like, wow. And I thought we felt like we had done something incredibly unique. And, when I got into post and it was so fast, that moment really was something I held on to. I realized like I had made something that, people would be very lucky to, and I feel incredibly grateful.
I think it's a piece of work to be really proud of. Was it particularly closely scripted?
Was it closely scripted? We pretty much see when you start working with funders, they want scripts. so I was very fortunate that I worked with two amazing producers, and Charles Steele and Carla Crestodina, who embraced the process where I said, I want to research it. I want to build it from the ground up with these two actors. So we went from treatment, and then from treatment, then we went to the first draft of the script. And then I would have workshopped the script with the two actors. Then it went to another stage. Another funder came in, had some notes, and then we went to another stage. So by the time we were shooting, we pretty much had a locked off script.
That's amazing. I'm going to wrap up, but it seems a silly question, but the film is sort of undercut by the worries about the future for the Irish border. Do you feel hopeful?
What's so bizarre is, when we were making the film 5 years ago, like we took for granted that Good Friday Agreement was intact. The Good Friday Agreement that's seen, prisoners released as in return for peace. And, that really is a big part of like justice and retribution and redemption and forgiveness. And now as a film is going out, the border is still up for grabs. We don't know if it's going to be hard or it's going to be soft and what side's going to be happy. And you kind of go, the Good Friday Agreement worked, and I'm very nervous about what will happen. And I don't want to take for granted that peace is a given, because I think that's where we get in trouble, where we think peace is for granted. And I think we need to tread very carefully. And I think there needs to constantly be an open dialogue between all sides. But we can't take for granted that peace is a given. I hope there is.
Yeah. Well, I've got to go, but thank you so much for your time.
That was it was a lovely interview. So thank you
so much.